I was only one more, maybe even 50. That's what I was stopping people for. Yeah. Only one more, make a big battle. Make a big fight.
Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. So I have a video for y'all that took place outside of the US. And y'all have to stay to the end of this video because at the end, there's a bit of a plot twist. And I'm just curious. I want to know what you guys think. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, MeUndies. MeUndies creates the most comfortable underwear that you can find. And especially in this heat, the last thing you want is some uncomfortable undergarments sticking to you, riding on you, and you guys know the drill. Well, MeUndies has 10 different styles ranging from cute little boy shorts to very, very cheeky, and they even have lace options that are actually comfortable. These cuts come in over 100 different colors and prints, ranging from all black to some of the most unique designs. I mean, the pink ones with the little bananas on them are so adorable. And I love these neon heart boy shorts because they just pop. The color pops. MeUndies has signature super soft micromodal fabric that is breathable, stretchy, and unbelievably comfortable. And because they are so comfortable, it makes wearing MeUndies ideal for all day wear. And if you need something even more breathable and like summer proof, you can check out the Move Me line with breathable fabric, which has moisture wicking and anti-odor technology, which is perfect for working out or just keeping you extra cool on those sweltering hot days. And MeUndies uses sustainably sourced materials, and they work with partners that really care for their workers. And if you're not happy with your first pair of MeUndies, it's on MeUndies because they have a problem-free philosophy. If you want to try MeUndies and be extra comfortable all summer long, well, now is your chance because you can get 20% off of your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Christina Randall. Yes, all you got to do is go to MeUndies.com/Christina Randall and you can save today. Thanks again, MeUndies. Now, before we get into this story that I'm going to tell y'all, I feel like I need to say that because this is a situation that happened in another country, Canada, it's not like it's real far away. I've seen some little differences in the information that we've got. So if you are from this area and you know, please let me know down below what you heard or what's, it's just little differences, and I'll let you guys know whenever we get there. So I did the best that I can. However, this story is very similar to some of them that we have heard here in the U.S., especially involving farm animals. Things like pigs. Everybody loves a cute little piggy, right? A little Wilbur, something like that, cute little tail. But unless you are a pig farmer or unless you have pigs or unless you just know, pigs are very interesting animals, very smart, but they'll also eat just about anything. Like really, just about anything. So I'm going to do like I typically try to do. I'm going to tell you all the whole entire story, the best of my ability with the information that's already out there. At the end of the video, I'm going to give y'all my opinion along with the plot twist. So make sure y'all stay to the end. So let me tell y'all about Robert. Robert Pickton was born on October 24th of 1949 to his parents, Leonard Pickton and Louise Arnold. They were both pig farmers in Port Coquitlam, British Colombia, which is about 17 miles east of Vancouver, Canada. Robert had an older sister and her name was Linda, and he had a younger brother named David. Linda, however, ended up being sent to live with different family members in Vancouver because Leonard and Louise, the parents, Leonard being the father, Louise was the mother, did not believe or think that a pig farm was a suitable place to raise their daughter. So they sent her to live with another family member. So at this point, it is the mother, the father, and the two sons, Robert and David. Okay. Now, Robert and his younger brother, David, began working at the family pig farm at a very early age, and they worked hard. Their mother, Louise, was known to be very, very, very strict and demanding of them. It was said that Louise, the mother, basically forced Robert and his brother to work very long hours, and regardless of them having to go to school the next day, and even she had them prioritize the pigs over Robert and David's own personal hygiene. So a lot of y'all probably grew up on farms. You probably live on a farm right now. Okay. Papa, he grew up on a farm. My father-in-law. We have our own little thing going on. It is really hard work. I think what was going on in this family was different than your typical work hard, be part of the family, we're all going to be productive. Because the mother, Louise, was said to have even put these pigs over Robert and David's personal hygiene. Like, she was considered a workaholic for sure, and so nothing else mattered in the world to her more than getting the work done there on the farm. The work that she had Robert and David doing was definitely not because they needed to, because they needed to keep the farm going, because they needed to pay bills, or because they needed the money. Their pig farm was actually doing really, really, really well. I mean, they made a lot of money doing what they did, but solely she was doing these things supposedly because that's just who she was and how she wanted things done. Louise, the mother, apparently even sent Robert and David to school in dirty clothes that smelled like manure. So if any of y'all have ever worked in, let's just say, a restaurant industry, okay, you come home smelling like French fries or fry grease, right? They would be working on the farm all day around pigs and all the mess, and she would have them go to school in those same clothes. Well, because of this, the brothers got the nickname Stinky Piggy from their classmates, and they got picked on all the time because of it. People didn't want to be around them. They thought they smelled really bad. The smell also made the girls at the school want to stay really far away from the brothers. Robert specifically was very attached to his mother. He rarely interacted with his father at all, who was said to be quite harsh, and he allegedly had no real part in raising him or his brother. At the age of 12, Robert was raising a calf that he considered like a beloved pet, until one day when he came home from school and the calf had been sent off to be processed. From what we know, he was very upset about this and actually said that it traumatized him because he loved this little calf and he thought it was going to be his pet. But, the way that they ran it was, you got to keep working. All these animals are, here for a purpose. Robert really struggled in school too. He ended up failing the 7th grade and he was put in a special needs class. It was said that his IQ was really, really low. And then it was also said again that his mother didn't give him any attention. He was really attached to her. He always wanted to impress her or work harder for her and get her approval. However, nothing that he ever did got his mother's approval. He really looked up to his little brother David, though, which is interesting because Robert was the oldest. But because of everything else that was going on in school and not having any friends, and his father being completely emotionally detached from him, his brother, and basically the family, and the mother never giving him the approval or the validation that he needed when he was young, he looked to his brother for that. Eventually, school was just too much for Robert, he ended up dropping out of school in 1963, and from here, he decided he was going to become a meat cutter, or a butcher, as most people would call it. He did this for about 7 years before he ended up leaving this job as a butcher, and he went to go work on the family farm full-time. A worker at the farm named Bill called the farm a creepy looking place that was guarded by not only like guard dogs, but by a 600-pound boar. Okay? A boar, not an electric fence, not a do not trespass sign, but a bunch of dogs and a 600-pound boar. This worker also said that Robert was a pretty quiet guy who was like hard to strike up a conversation with. And even if you talked to him and you tried to, it was just really short one-word answers with Robert. And it seems like it's because he did not get a lot of social interaction. Because of that, even when he was an adult, people just really thought he was strange. Like he was just a strange, bizarre, like isolated character. David, the little brother, also wanted to be really close with his mother, and so close that he even committed his like first real crime with his mother. This is how the story goes about that. Back in October of 1967, David was driving his father's truck just after getting his driver's license when he ended up hitting a 14-year-old boy named Tim Barrett. And Tim Barrett was actually just walking down the side of the road when David hit him. Now, when David hit him, he completely panicked. He immediately drove home to tell his mother what had happened. And you would think that the mother would be like, oh my gosh, we need to call 911. We need to go get him in an ambulance. We need to, that's not what she did. The mother went to the spot where Timmy had laid. And this is when she saw him lying on the ground, injured, and he was on the side of the road. Allegedly, Louise bent over to get a good look at Tim. Then she ended up dragging him or pushing him into, I've seen a deep ditch with water, and then I've seen like a lake with water. So it was a spot that had a bunch of water in it. So she takes him and she puts him in this spot with this water in it. The next day, Tim was found, and he was found not alive. When they did an autopsy on his body, they found that he had passed away from drowning, which means obviously that he had not passed away when he was put in the water. It is said that his injuries were like really severe, but they would not have ended his life if he had gotten the medical attention that he needed. However, there's not a lot of details about what happened after that incident, but what we do know is that David and Louise never got into any trouble for it. Some say it's because no one knew that they were involved. Others say that it's because of Louise's prominence in the town. They were big suppliers of meat in this town that they lived in. In 1978, however, and in 1979, Robert's parents ended up passing away. His father passed away in 78, and then the mother passed away just 1 year afterwards. Robert and his siblings ended up inheriting the whole entire farm at this point. And when they inherited the farm, you guys, you might be just thinking like dirty old pig farm, right? Nothing about it was nice. Nothing about it was glamorous. It was muddy and yucky and stinky and full of pigs. However, the siblings ended up selling part of this pig farm, and they ended up getting millions for selling a part of it. Oddly enough, when you are in a town, right, and you go from being the stinky kid, the stinky adult, to now a multimillionaire, this is when Robert was able to get a little attention that maybe he had always wanted, but never had. Now, not only were they just kind of living their lives at this point, still on part of the pig farm because they only sold a piece of it, they began a nonprofit, we'll say a nonprofit charity, and they named it the Piggy Palace Times Society. They claimed that it was to organize and coordinate and manage and operate special events, functions, dances, shows, and different like exhibits on behalf of service organizations or sports organizations or other organizations that were worthy groups. However, in reality, these charity events were allegedly raves and parties, big parties that the brothers held in the farm's slaughterhouse. As a matter of fact, their parties were very well known by the locals and often had like 2,000 people attending them. So you got 2,000 people coming to this charity event, and it's a rave in the slaughterhouse for the pigs, but they're supplying all the party favors. So yeah, some of these party goers were said to be from like the Hells Angels bikers, and there were supposedly a lot of S workers that were there as well. Now, these parties eventually ended up getting so out of hand that the city came in and was violating them for different zoning reasons, essentially meaning that they were having parties on land that was zoned for agricultural use. And after a really wild New Year's Eve party, the police were given authorization to arrest and remove any person that was attending like future parties at the farm. So obviously they had to come up with a new idea, because now the police could just go in and arrest anybody that was there. A year later, the charity's nonprofit status ended up being removed and it was eventually disbanded. Moving on to March of 1997, Robert was actually charged with attempted murder of one of the S workers, and her name was Wendy. It was said that one night he had gone out and he had picked up Wendy to come back to the pig farm and work for him. However, he ended up handcuffing her and was in the process of taking a sharp object and, going at her with it. However, Wendy was a fighter and she fought back. She was able to get the knife from him and she was able to turn it around and stab Robert. And then after that, when he fell down, she was able to escape. When she escaped, she went and told the local police what happened. So Robert did end up being arrested and he was charged for this. However, later the charge was dismissed because, according to the prosecution, Wendy had a really bad substance abuse problem, and the prosecutor believed that she was too unstable to be a reliable witness. However, way later, interrogation footage ends up coming out and it shows Robert being questioned about this event. And yeah, y'all check this out.
Do you drink? Oh, no, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't use drugs. And then everybody says, how come your eyes are so bloodshot? I says, I turned around. I didn't take the knife away from her. I did not take the knife away from her. I aimed it to her and I knifed her twice. I did that. I admit I did that. That's one thing I shouldn't have done.
2 hours of questions, no incriminating answers.
So you've never taken any of the prostitutes back to your trailer?
Not since this incident, no. Hey.
But before that incident?
Nope.
Now, y'all remember that. Remember Wendy going there and her telling the police, and the prosecution ended up dropping it, saying she was not a reliable witness because she had substance issues. And then this interrogation footage coming out way later. Y'all remember that later in this video when you think about if that would have been taken seriously back then. Okay, moving on. So David, Robert's little brother, he ended up being convicted of SA in 1992, but he was fined 1,000 Canadian dollars and only given 30 days probation. The victim in this case told the police that David actually had attacked her in his trailer at the farm, but she was able to escape and she reported him to the cops. So you had the Robert incident, and then now Dave, where you got two different women who escaped from the farm, went to the police and said that all this stuff happened, right? After that happened, that worker that we talked about earlier, Bill, he said that he started noticing a dark pattern around the farm. Now, I think I should tell y'all that around this time, this area would see like 1 to 2 missing people a year until 1995 hit, okay? So when 1995 hit, a spike in missing persons went up, and they were all basically women, okay? And it went up from 1 to 2 a year to 27 to 28 people a year, okay? According to the experts, this was a scientific cluster, and something obviously had to be causing this. Not to mention that these people that were missing were not found. It's not like it went from 1 to 2 people missing a year to 27 to 28 people missing a year and 14 of them were found. Maybe they ran off or they They weren't found. Neither were their bodies. It's like they were just disappearing, poof, without a trace. Now, during this time, there was a young police officer named Lorimer Scheinher. He ended up telling his bosses that he thought that there was a serial killer in downtown Eastside of Vancouver. However, not many people at the department believed him. As a matter of fact, he said that he had all sorts of responses to him telling them that, which I don't think is too crazy when you got 27 people going missing at a time. However, they basically laughed at him. They said things to him like, oh, you just read too much. Oh, you have an active imagination. They couldn't actually have a serial killer in their town. And he said that he was young. You know, had no real pull in the police department at this point, and he had no bodies to prove it. Okay, bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier with this guy, Bill. In the 3 years after Robert's arrest, Bill, that same worker, noticed that women who came to the farm would usually end up going missing. Eventually, Bill himself reported this to the police. However, it wasn't until 2002 that the cops actually ended up going to the farm and searching. In February of 2002, the Canadian investigators ended up raiding Robert's property with a search warrant. At the time, they were looking for illegal firearms after receiving a tip. What they ended up finding, though, was items belonging to multiple missing women. There was women's clothing and jewelry and even an asthma inhaler that was prescribed to a missing woman, and there was the blood of another woman there as well. The family pig farm ended up becoming the largest crime scene in Canadian history. For nearly 2 years, 102 anthropologists sifted through 370,000 cubic yards of mud and manure, trying to find as many missing women as possible. I mean, the Canadian officials really put the investigation as a priority at this point. Initially, Robert was arrested on 2 murder charges, and not long after, though, 4 more charges were added. By 2005, there were 27 total murder charges brought against Robert, which made him the most prolific serial killer in Canadian history. According to the police reports and Robert's taped confessions, and we'll talk more about that later, the police ended up finding out that women on the property had been ended multiple different ways. Some of them had been handcuffed and just like Wendy from earlier in this video, and other women had been injected with antifreeze or windshield wiper fluid. Then, after the women would pass, he would either take the bodies to a meat rendering plant or he would grind them up himself and feed them to the pigs on his farm. Because of this, because the professionals knew that he did and he was capable of grinding human meat, the government reported that Robert may have actually ground up human flesh, mixed it with pork, and sold it to the public for years. The local health authority had to issue like a real public warning about this. And I even saw photos of different events that they had put on, and they had like sausage cooking, y'all, pork sausage. And let me tell y'all, We've heard of stories like this before when it comes to pork. It's always pork, seemingly, that people do this, pork sandwiches, pork this, pork that. But imagine living in that town. Imagine, that's the pig farm. They're making millions. So obviously people think they got the best pork around. So to get a pork hot dog or a sausage link or something like that from them was a treat. People came and gathered and ate it. And then all this came out. Moving on, Robert's trial ended up beginning on January 30th of 2006, and Robert pled not guilty to all 27 charges. The judge actually rejected one of those charges and grouped the other 26 into just 2 groups. One group of 6 charges and the second group of 20 charges. Here are the women that were named and reported in both of the groups. The trial proceeded with the group of 6 charges. Now, there ended up being a ban that was put on reporters, so the details of the trial are not totally clear or complete, but it is said that the judge said she split these charges up because proceeding with the full 26 would have been too big of a burden on the jurors, and the trial itself could have lasted over 2 years with that many charges. And remember, Robert had the money too for attorneys and anything and dragging it out. It's not like he had a life or a family or something to get back home to. He could have drug it out and it could have been whatever, okay? Now, once Robert's trial got underway, though, more information about the investigation began to come out. During the search of the farm, a loaded .22 revolver was found with a rubber, long, we'll just say adult toy over the barrel, okay? There was night vision goggles that were found. Fuzzy handcuffs were found, and a syringe with blue liquid inside was found. When asked about all these items, Robert said that he attached the toy to his revolver to use it as a makeshift silencer. Weird. A videotape of one of Robert's friends was played. In the video, the friend says that Robert told him a good way to end a female's life was to inject her with windshield wiper fluid. Now, this sounds really consistent with what the investigators ended up finding in their search at the farm. Another video was played of another one of Robert's friends saying that Robert had mentioned to him that he had ended the lives of S workers by handcuffing them, strangling them, and then hanging them and doing them like you do meat, bleeding them and gutting them before feeding them to his pigs. This sounds also very consistent with what happened with Wendy and with other stuff that they found on the farm. Then, photos were shown to the jury of the garbage that they found in the slaughterhouse, which had some remains of victim Mona Wilson. There was a reporter that was in the courtroom while the evidence was being presented to the jury, and that reporter later wrote that the investigators found teeth, they found purses, they found ID cards, they found mattresses completely soaked in red fluid at the farm. And he also went on to say that they found bags of ground up human remains, skulls in freezers, and they found hands and feet in buckets. They allegedly found pretty much anything you can think of, it was there at the farm. On December 9th of 2007, the jury found Robert not guilty, y'all, on all 6 counts of first-degree murder. However, they did end up finding him guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder. I don't know how they came to that, but okay. The judge sentenced Robert to life without the possibility of parole for 25 years, which was the maximum sentence that they could give him there. Now, it is important to note that the judge said that the sentence that he got, the 25 to life, okay, that would have been the same exact thing if he would have been convicted for first degree, because that is the max that they could give somebody there, which is, in my personal opinion, absolutely bonkers that you can do that to that many people and still be eligible to get out in 25 years. But nevertheless, after his conviction, the other 20 charges ended up just being dropped. A spokesperson said that this was because any additional convictions couldn't result in any increase to the sentence that Robert had anyways, which is wild to me, because if you are a crazy person, you would think, why just end one person's life when you can end 100? Because you're going to get the same sentence anyways, and you're going to get a second shot in 25 years. I don't know, y'all. Some family members were really disappointed over this decision, and others were grateful that they would not have to relive the gruesome details like through everything in court. The victim's children, however, ended up filing a civil lawsuit in May of 2013 against the Vancouver Police Department and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Crown for failing to protect the victims. They reached a settlement in March of 2014, and each child was compensated 50,000 Canadian dollars without admission of liability. And to this day, it's not known just how many women that Robert killed, but prosecutors say that Robert told an undercover officer in his jail cell that he had killed 49 women, and he was disappointed that he could not even make it an even 50. On top of all of that, this video that I'm about to show y'all was actually played during Robert's trial, yet somehow the jury could not find him guilty of only 6 counts of first-degree murder after all of that.
I'm sorry, it's worth it. You know, I can make things disappear. I was into my work, maybe 50. That's what I was slapping people for. Yeah. That's 50.
In February of this year, Robert became eligible for parole. Okay, so February of this year, 2024. So everybody knows he's eligible for parole. He could be getting out. However, May 19th of this year, right before his parole hearing, something strange happened. The hearing had to be rescheduled because Robert was attacked by another prisoner, another inmate in there with him. Now, the inmate's name is allegedly Martin, and it is said that Robert was speared in the head with a broken broom handle. He ended up being airlifted to the hospital and put on life support, where he later passed away on May 31st. Now, that could go a couple different ways. I don't know what it's like over in Canada, but I do know here in America, if you're getting a chance to get out or you're about to get out and you're talking about it and stuff, that can cause drama sometimes, people that have life sentences. However, there's not sentences like that there where you just get life flat out. And it was just a parole hearing. However, there's a little bit of chatter, and this is what brings me to the plot twist of this whole situation. Lorimer Sheenher, the guy that we talked about way earlier, the one who was a young cop back in the 1990s and went to his bosses and different people at the department and said that he believed that there was a serial killer in town, and he basically was like laughed at, like, oh, you read too much, oh, you're watching too much television, that serial killer, yeah, right, that can't happen here. Okay, he was a former lead Vancouver police detective. He spoke out about this assault that happened against Robert. And he said, obviously, Mr. Pickton has caused a lot of pain for many people. He went on to say, unfortunately, all an attack like this serves to do is further thwart the truth of this case from being told so that all the remaining perpetrators could be brought to justice. It's been an open secret for more than 20 years that these murders were not committed solely by the hands of Robert Pickton. Now, there is a lot of rumors and speculations that there was a lot more people involved in this, that maybe there was even some people that were officers that were picking up ladies of the night or whatever, S-workers, and acting like they were arresting them and doing whatever, and then they would disappear, and they all got blamed on Robert. Not that any of it matters, because he did what he did too. Obviously, they found all that stuff there. But another part of it is the brother David. Now, a lot of people in town were convinced that David knew, and I still have a hard time figuring out how he did not know. If you're finding hands and feet in buckets, teeth all over the place, you know, maybe he was just one of them brothers that knew that his brother was bringing women home, probably thought something was weird, but didn't get into it, but I don't know. I find it strange that his brother did not know. He still denies it to this day. I seen an article that was written not too long ago, but a lot of people think that he knew. And according to this detective, it was unfortunate that Robert's life ended. And it's also rumored that Robert was going to write a book, or was writing a book. I don't know if that's true, but there are people that are saying that they believe the reason why he was killed right before his parole hearing was because he was going to release the other people that were involved. If it's true, we'll never know at this point, but at least he's not going to be getting out of prison. So what do y'all think about this? It is horrific, but the stories that we've heard involving pig farms is disturbing, okay? Like, whoa. The pigs will eat anything. I mean, devour it. Bones and all, gone. But like I said, at the end of the day, at the very least, at least Robert's not getting out. He's not going to be back on the streets. The families, they got a little compensation, obviously not enough for their family members being gone and maybe never seeing their family members, if any of them were addicted, seeing them maybe get to change and become better. But at least I hope that they find comfort that Robert is not going to get out and he can't do it to anybody else. So have y'all heard about this? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Other than that, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.